Welcome. My name is Steve Stein. I'm the founder of Better Listen and Wisdom Feed. And tonight we're in for a treat. The program, Rachel Neumann, a free introductory session to two workshops coming up in August, Born to Write, Demystifying and Plotting Your Bestseller, and Writing Your Way Home, Journaling for Healing and Mindfulness. Rachel Neumann is one of the world's leading publishing veterans with more than 30 years of experience in all aspects of the industry. She has a track record of developing, representing, and editing over a dozen international and New York Times bestsellers. A former publisher and editorial director, Rachel understands book publishing inside and out. She possesses a singular sense of how to evolve good ideas into great stories. Prior to founding Wave Literary, Rachel served as lead agent and CEO of the literary agency Idea Architects. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, I'm thrilled to be here with you all with some very familiar faces and some less familiar ones. And I'm so excited. I need to take a moment and ground and hope that we can as well to start. So, people sometimes think that writing is a practice where things go, the ideas in your head come down onto the page and nothing in between, but actually it's an embodied practice. It has to come through your body. So let's start by just arriving here together. This group has actually never been together before in this moment. And so it's exactly where we all are supposed to be. So if everyone can just sit wherever you are and feel your feet wherever they are touching, on the ground or your chair or the wood, and feel your head. And if you can feel, it's funny because writing is sometimes seems very two-dimensional. If you can feel the three-dimensionality of your body for a minute, including the back of your head, the roundness of your shoulders. And let's just take 3 breaths together and arrive. Wonderful. And in the groups, we'll have time to get to know each other and I'll speak. And since we won't know, I'm just going to ask you to write in your name, however else you would like, one thing, however else you would like to share about yourself or identify yourself. So that could be pronouns. It could be the indigenous land you are on. It could be some identity you like, mother, daughter, sister, writer. It could be the name of something you're working on. I have my organization, Wave Literary, next to me. But just write something next to your name that you want us to know about you, one thing. And don't take too long on it. It's not it's not a test. It's just so when we're looking at you, we know one thing about you that you want us to know about you. Racial Equity Project, writer, wonderful. Yeah, and if you can't figure out how to change it in your name, you can also just write it down. Singer Mama, Kimmy, martial artist, mother, writer. Haha, it's also good.
Okay.
These are perfect. Perfect. I love that because one of the first things that writing is what we get to say, right? Part of it is saying like, what is the thing that we are saying about ourselves out in the world? So I'm so glad that you are here in your full selves as writers, artists, mothers, singers, children's book authors, she, hers, racial equity projectors, organizers. For those who don't know, we have 55 lifelong friends. Yes, we have 55 minutes together to get a taste of what we'll be doing in August. And so what I'm going to do is share a little bit about why this, why now, after 30 years of working in publishing and never having done an online class. We'll get tastes of each class because it would be such a shame to all show up together and not get some writing time every chance we get. So we'll get to actually write together. And then we'll get some time to answer whatever questions you might have about anything and everything writing and publishing related that can be answered in 15 minutes or so. So, and then hopefully that will give you a little taste, and then Steve can answer anything that's more practical questions about Zooms and things like that. But we'll start by just saying, so I've written since I was a small, tiny, since I could read, which was when I was 2, I started to write. But for the last 30 years, I've worked in every aspect of book publishing. So whether that's running a bookstore and working as an editor and a writer, a book midwife, working in publishing, working as a journalist and an editor, and teaching kindergartners through in senior centers, so all over. And in that time, I've midwifed over 100 books, including 4 of my own and over a dozen with 2 dozen with Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. And what I have learned in that time, which I can distill down to the time in August, but also distill now, is that every single person has a story within them and has some writing within them. And like any expression, singing, dancing, writing, it is something that we have naturally in our bodies, and it can be nurtured, watered, and taught. So if you're here wondering if this is the right place for you, because you don't need it because you've written 1,000 books, or you don't know if you're a writer because you haven't written any, or you're not sure, let me reassure you that you are absolutely in the right place. And that every single one of us, whether it's our first word or our 1,000th, needs space to write and a community and support in their writing. So that's why we're here. And why I'm here is because actually it's one of my favorite things to do is to be with people in finding and honing their voice. So what we're going to get to do is kind of get right into it. It's the really exciting part. And I'm going to share a little bit about the first class. So the first that we'll be teaching, we'll be together in August, and we'll do a little exercise from that. And then the second. So the first class we'll be doing in August is called Writing Your Way Home, Journaling for Healing and Mindfulness. And the class is based, I don't even want to call it class, the group is based on, I think if there's 3 people sitting on my shoulders when we're going to in August for this class. And it will be, one is Thich Nhat Hanh, and what he's taught me about finding your voice. One is Natalie Goldberg, who's a teacher about wild writing. And the third is a dear friend who passed away recently named Wally Watson, who's a master rafter about pointing to the good and about how we navigate the waters of life. So with those 3 teachers on my shoulder, on each shoulder, what we'll be doing in that time is really creating a supportive community for you to wild write. Each time we're together, we'll start with a bit of inspiration from a poet or writer, and then we will write into that way of being. So we'll spend about 30 minutes to 40 minutes together each time just writing. And in that time, I will be there sending you guidance when you get stuck, reminding you if you've ever done guided meditation, then you're used to a voice being there when you need it, just when you're like, what do I do next? And this is really wild writing. We will our focus will be on generative writing and in supportive writing. And then we'll spend a little time at the end, 15 minutes reading a few people each time and pointing out what resonates with us as a community with that writing. So think of this as the most supportive community you could possibly have that's focused really on making space for you to write and believes that what you need in that time is to write your way home. So we're going to do it and practice, and you're going to get a little taste of what it feels like to be around people that are there for you, kind of like holding you as you get to write your way home. And I'm going to start by reading a piece of a poem, and then we're going to write inspired by that. So does everyone have something to write with? I hope you guys showed up at a writing class with something to write with. Okay. If not, that's okay. This is like why writing is the most wonderful thing in the world, because really there's no electricity needed, no updates needed. You can have a pen and it's like literally the back of an envelope. And the part of a poem I'm reading is by a 35-year-old Chinese American poet named Chen Chen. And the poem is called Kafka's Axe and Michael's Vest. I'm just going to read a short part. Still winter, snowing still. Can it even be called action, this patience in the form of gravity overdressed in gray? Days like this, the right silence can be an action, an axe, right through the frozen sea, as Kafka calls for. A necessary smashing, opening, though silence can also be a shattering, closing. Think of peace and how the Buddhists say it's found through silence. Think of silence and how Audre Lorde says it will not protect you. Think of silence as a violence when silence means being made a frozen sea. Think of speaking as a violence when speaking is a house that dresses your life in the tidiest wallpaper. It makes your grief sit down, this house. It makes you chairs when you need justice. It keeps your rage room temperature. I've been thinking about how the world is actually unbearable, about all those moments of silence we're supposed to take. Each year, more moments, less life. And perhaps the most monastic of monks are right to take vows of silence that last a decade. Chen Chen is the author, and the poem is called Kafka's Axe and Michael's Vest. So what I'm going to ask you to do is think of two objects, Kafka's axe, Michael's vest, two things. They can be things in front of you. They can be two things. Just write down the name of two things. They can go together and they cannot. I'm not going to tell you mine. And then I want you to start with the phrase, days like this. Days like this. And you have 15 minutes to write whatever comes up from that phrase. Start with days like this. And your poem is the title or the title of those two things, two objects. And the most important thing is not that you follow those directions, it's that you write. So if you get one object and then you just keep writing, I don't know what to say about this one object. If you describe that object, it's great. What I want you to do is keep writing. And any time you can't remember, you don't have no idea what to say next, just write the name of one of those objects down again. So it might be Kafka's axe, Kafka's axe, Kafka's axe, until something else comes. And go. I'll let you know when you have 5 minutes left. We'll have a chance for people to take turns reading and to hear people back what resonated with people, but we won't today. But I'm curious if there's one or two brave souls that just want to share one sentence from what they wrote, just one sentence. And it can start with, days like this, or it could be another sentence. If you would like to raise your hand, and I think Steve can unmute.
Raise your hand or just unmute yourself, and there's not that many people. I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
I can read something.
Okay.
I don't have it. It's kind of a mess, but
just one. I only two rules. You don't no hedging your bets, saying anything else, but just reading your sentence. This is the whole idea, is that the writing, you're brave and the writing speaks for itself. So no, like I didn't know, or it's good. You just write, you say your one sentence. That's it.
a square box, lifeless and cold, lying there, untapped source, flowing, scrolling, and not an invite, a group. In a room, I grabbed a brush, just trying to groom. I mean, it's a poem, right? We're supposed to write a poem.
That was perfect. You were supposed to write what you did. That was great. I love the flowing, scrolling. That's those like great together. Anyone else want to read one sentence just of what they wrote? Kimmy. No excuses, just the sentence.
Someone raised their hand.
Kimmy did.
Days like this require lots of water in so many forms to keep cool and refreshed.
Love it. Cool and refreshed. I like in so many forms. Great. One more.
Kate, you want to read something? Yeah.
I see two hands. Yeshi, Gabe, and Kate.
Okay, I'm Kate. So one sentence. Days like this I realize time betrays me, or do I betray time?
Great. I want more. Great. Wonderful. Go ahead.
Days like this cannot be held onto, like baby clay holds Harriet's thumb in his toothless grip.
Mm,
Nice.
toothless grip. Wonderful. So you see how it's funny, writing, there's a myth, late capitalism, that writing is a solitary practice and that creativity is a solitary practice, and that you should be there banging your head against a wall. But there is a way that in each other's words, we find ours and we find inspiration. We jump off and leapfrog. We don't have to like protect them and no one's going to steal them. It's like we can sing, we can harmonize with each other. So that's a lot of what that first class is we just get to be with each other in words and support each other in finding our way through. So thank you. Thank you all. That was very brave, especially considering we didn't have any time really to get to know each other and do that.
And
You have something?
CP wrote, days like this, we sit together and take warmth and comfort, me from my coffee, you from your tea.
Nice.
So much, right? Can be in a few words. I love it. And that prompt, each time we'll work with a different one, but it brings you into the immediacy, right? Like you see how like one of the incredible things about writing is that it gives you all of a sudden you're playing with time. All of a sudden you're taking something that could be endless and you're finding the one moment of it, right? The thumb and the clay, the flowing, the tea or the coffee, right? So beautiful. I can't wait for more in August. So this class, that first class is Writing Your Way Home, is all about generative writing, creating and making space, like clay, as one of the writers said, for us to work with. The other course that we'll be doing in August is called Born to Write, Demystifying and Plotting Your Bestseller. And that is if you have a particular project or you think you might have a particular project, if you have folders or journals and something that wants to take shape and you could use some tools and help honing and shaping that project. I think they go really well together because there's no honing and generating are always happen simultaneously, right? There's like the wonderful part of creating and then there's the creation of honing. And that is what the second course is. So since form follows function, a lot of what we'll do in that first class is start by figuring out what your function is, what it is that you are here to write. So some people might have like 1,000 books in them, 20 books in them. Everyone has at least one story in them. It doesn't necessarily need to be a book. It could be a poem. It could be one perfect, amazing poem. It could be a letter to somebody you most love. It could be a book. So one of the things we'll focus on is like, what is the structure? What is the function of what you most need to say? And what is the structure that it wants to find? And there's no right answer there, but we will play with what do you gain, what do you lose in various structures. And there is an organic, natural structure that your project and your idea has. So one of the other things we're going to do in that course is, as a literary agent, I feel like there is a huge amount of knowledge about publishing that's generally gate-kept for people who are in once you're a published author. And I don't think that's helpful for anyone. So one of the things we're going to do is talk about all of the secrets to publishing. How to write a bestseller, what make people buy, why people buy books, what do people want in a book, what are the paths to publishing. And so the first class will be about honing and figuring out your message. It's 3 classes. The second one will really be about structure and shape and figuring out how do you create an arc or a shape to guide you as you write. And then the third of those classes really focuses on publishing, getting your words out. So whether that's looking at the different ways one can publish, everything from self-publishing to hybrid publishing to trade publishing, to finding an agent, to submitting, to like, should you do it yourself? Like all of the questions that you probably have about finding and creating your project and getting it out there, because there's absolutely no reason that you need to share your writing with anyone, but there's this point where a lot of people are like, oh, wait, there's something here that I want to say and I want to share it with everyone. So even though this is just like, a sample and a taste, I'm going to give away one of the big secrets of publishing. And then we're going to spend a little time figuring out what it is that you want to say here, if there is something that you want to say, and then we'll do more in August. So, it's the secret to a bestseller. I'll just tell you now, and you're done. We can go home. Is basically it revealing something that people know to be true, but don't have the words to say. So every book that you've sort of felt like, oh, if you've ever felt that in a book where you're like, oh my God, that's just what I was thinking or feeling, but I didn't have the words for. That's your bestseller. So, I worked, as I've said, for Thich Nhat Hanh for about 16 years. And people kept saying, is he just saying the same thing over again? Like what, so what, breathe? Like, how can you create that many books out of breathing? And it's true. He really would say, yeah, it's true. I just basically have one thing to say. But how you say it and saying it in a way that people can hear it and feel it is the whole purpose is the whole art of writing. So you have something to say, but it's something that people feel or know and don't really have the words for. And that's why it's an art, because what you're doing is creating, it's you there alone on a page, creating something that someone else there feels and resonates deeply inside themselves. So we're going to start by thinking about what that might be for you. And one of the things that I'm going to really encourage you to do is think about what it is that only you know, something that only you know, or that you feel like you know really, really, really well by this point in your life. There are a lot of ideas out there, and I'm sure you've heard this in some writing class at some point in your life, but the more strangely, and it's like one of the counterintuitives of writing and of most art, the thing that is most personal to you is the thing that most resonates with other people. And it's just, it's just a fact that like the thing that you think, I am probably the only person in the world who has done X, Y, and Z, or who knows this, that's the thing that people are going to most connect to. So I want you to take a moment and think, what is one area of your expertise? What's something you know? And I want you just to write it down. We're not going to share it. So say, I know. One thing I know really well is. You're not going to share it, so don't worry about, like feeling like you're being braggy, or maybe I don't actually know this, or, I'm just going to write, something I really know. It might be I really know how to deliver a baby. I really know how to organize a house. I really know, how to draw a cat. I really know how to sing, and I really don't. But what is something that you're like, we have grown-ups here, like we have gotten here through hard work, every single one of you on this Zoom. Did not get here by accident. But what is something that only, okay, take a moment, just write down your sentence. And when you're done, do a little something like if you know how to use your reactions, put a little, like a thumbs up or a heart. And if not, don't worry about it.
Oh, reaction.
Perfect, you mean. Yay. Yeah, what's something you know? Okay, ready? Does everyone have one? Oh, I like that. I don't know why Kimmy's gets to go down and up. Yours is fancy. Okay. And now, and this is just for you to start. What is something that you think people think they know, but is wrong? So, because one of the other secrets, the biggest thing in book is a counterintuitive, like a book, like people, like, for example, we think writing is putting down words down on paper and putting down the words in our head, but actually writing is creating something new that only exists in the alchemy between the page and the reader. Okay, that's just something I know, right? So if you're like, we all walk around thinking, God, if people only knew, there's a reason that you have to tell your thing. It's because we don't know it and the world needs it. So what is something? And I want you to write your sentence like, we think blank, but actually blank. Ideally about what you know. So we think. Mhm. And there, because there's all of a sudden there's something exciting. We think this, but you know something different. Really, it's something else. Okay, and then your third sentence. Does everyone have their second one? Your third sentence. What's something now that now you know something, you know something you know something that we don't know. What's something you want to discover? I would like to explore. You would like to explore. What's something that you don't know that you will learn in the process of writing, right? Every book, whether it's a how-to or a mystery novel, it succeeds because there's a tension in it. There's something that we don't know that we and you are going to find out by the end. If we already know everything, you don't need to write us a book. Just give me a sentence, right? Yeah. But if it's something that we don't know that you're going to learn, Toni Morrison used to say, like, you write because you have a question. And once you have a question, you don't stop till you have an answer. And that hopefully by then that's page whatever it is. If you already know everything, so that's something counterintuitive right there. You have to know everything to start. You have to know something no one else knows. But if you know everything, there's no point in writing anything, right? We think we don't write because we're the experts. We write because we're the bridge. We write because we're the conduit. Mhm. All right. Now we are not going to have time on this Zoom to turn those into a premise, but that's what we'll be doing in our first section in August is getting down to the core premises of our book. And that will be getting down to the seed, the nut, the essentialness of what it is that you are writing this project on. And it is really important in that, and where I will be, there to guide you is really making it the one thing that this particular project that you're going to do in that class is on. So it doesn't mean there won't be many, and every writer should have a file called like the other next project or the other projects, because it's not going anywhere. But part of what you're going to be doing is honing down. This is the one idea that we're going to be exploring in depth and figuring out how to turn into whatever it is, an essay, a book, a magazine article, a play, whatever it is that you're writing. That is Born to Write. And then we'll talk more. We can get those down to one sentence. That's going to be part of the fun too, but we're not going to do that right now. So I know we only have, what do we have? 15 minutes. Since we started 5 minutes late, we'll go 5 minutes. So, and we wanted to make sure that we had time to answer any and all questions about what the courses will be like, any writing questions you have, period, about anything, in this time. And if you don't have any, I will definitely, yes.
Oh, quick question. So, Rachel, how often will the classes meet, and what is the duration?
Okay, Steve, you can answer that.
Yeah, so am I muted? Let's make sure I'm good here. Yeah, so first of all, Rachel Neumann, that was excellent. So the classes will start on the 13th and 14th of August and go for 3 evenings in a row. I'm going to put the links to, if you haven't seen the details, I'll drop the links in a second. And I'm going to start out with a question.
Okay.
I have a question. So let's say you have a half a dozen books or ideas in what I'm going to do next. Is in that first class, do we get to pick one?
You get to pick one, and you should pick one. Yeah, because it's not like any of those ideas are wrong. It's just like, what do you gain? What do you lose? And actually, you really only probably have one idea that you need to write right now. And I think that part of it is the question for that class is also like, what do you write? It's not just like what you want to say, but we're aligning the message, the messenger, and the culture. So what is it also that the world needs to hear right now? And what is it that's urgent?
Say that again. That was really fast. The messenger.
You're aligning yourself as the messenger, the message, and the culture. So that's another secret to bestseller is like, it's because what you have to say right now aligns, you are the person to say it, and it's what we need to hear. So of the things that you want to say, maybe there is one you most need to say, and there's maybe one we most need to hear. I did, and then, okay, so does that answer your question,
Yeah,
Steve?
right,
Okay, and I
because
saw go ahead.
yeah, because maybe it was like the right time when I had the idea 2 years ago or 2 days ago, but maybe now it's not the right time, whatever the.
Yeah, and again, remember form follows function. So what is it that you want to do? Like it might be the right idea for a note to a friend. It might be the right idea for a song that you sing in the shower. It might be right even idea for a song you sing on stage. The question is like, what is the right idea for you to write? And what's the form for you to write it in, you know? And again, it's not it's always what you gain, what you lose. And if you don't lose something, you're not going to gain anything. You can't, it can't be everything. Because part of the joy in it is the focusing. That's part of the skill. I wanted to answer Ria's question because it was here earlier. Speculative fiction is great. One of the other sort of secrets of writing is that it actually makes no difference. If it's speculative fiction or prescriptive, whatever, like you want to write a good book and you want to write a book that people will read and these basics are the same either way. I think that a lot of books are speculative fiction that read, that sound like they're, nonfiction. So, there's different challenges in creation, but in terms of the structure and in terms of the support, it's the same. So I actually love it when people are working on very different kinds of things because I think we learn more from each other than we think. And a lot of times people are like, I don't know if it's a novel or I don't know if it's it actually like, don't worry about that part. Write what you're supposed to write. And then later we can call it something when you need to send it to an agent and we can talk about that. I didn't hear the answer to Kimmy's question. Can you answer again?
I got it. It's in the link now. Okay.
Because I don't.
Rachel.
Yes. And they will be recorded so that you get the recordings for life of the classes. And you will also get notes.
Yes, you miss it, you have lifetime access to the recordings.
Yeah. And the writing your way home class will be the beginning of a writing group that is going to be very limited. And so people who do the August class get first get first dibs in that writing group. So there's already a waiting list for that writing group, and it will be first for people who have taken the writing class. And that will be an ongoing group.
May I ask another question?
Please.
So the honing, shaping, and demystifying publishing class, that's distinct from writing your way home. Am I getting that correctly?
Yes, they're two separate classes. One is a generative writing class on Write Your Way Home, and one is a demystifying and plotting your bestseller, the book you're born to write class.
Okay, thanks.
And that's really going to focus on, like a specific project that you are working on and getting that ready either for a proposal submission if you want to send it to an agent or to a publisher or to moving that project into a very specific form. And the other one is generative writing.
Great. Thanks, Rachel.
That really shows a difference.
May I ask a question?
Please.
I've just finished a novel. It's my first time writing, and I have a very complex family saga, women's fiction, historical fiction. And I'm at the point of querying, and that process has been quite the conundrum for me. So part of me coming to you is I want to complete what I've done and how that bird flies. But my other ideas, I want to start with knowledge this time. I want to start. So I'm coming at it. I really want to birth this child because the labor pains are really getting,
you're in transition.
Tighter and tighter. So I'm I want to query. I don't know if that's where I need to come in this class, but I do want to start anew with guidance. I never had guidance.
Yeah, everyone should get companioned on this journey. It is an incredibly challenging journey and it's brave and hard to put your work out there. So first, congratulations on finishing your first book. That's huge. That's big. And it sounds like it was a major project. So yes, we'll talk. Yeah, I mean, that's celebrate. So we will talk querying and happy to kind of give you guidance there. And also I do think where you start is where you end up. So I think it really makes sense to start your next project with support so that you can have that ease of not like, I think we can go really far on ourselves down one road, and to have support from the beginning means that like, that's why in the Born to Write, we'll start so much with figuring out where you want to end up. Like, what is it you most want to write and what does it look like when it's done? That's where we begin. So that what you end up with is actually where you wanted to go.
Okay.
Does that help
Thank
you? Yeah.
So it's not an either or. I think we can have it all. Great.
I know I said you had to let things go, but yes, I actually really recommend, it's like, I'm not good at waiting, sitting out. So I actually do recommend like you have something, you working on something else. If you have something out and being queried, that you work on your next project, because it does no good to sit around and wait for, somebody else to think about it. And it's so subjective, someone else's opinion.
Right.
It's really helpful to be like, you're working on it, something else. You're always working.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and there should be 2 links, Kate, to answer your question. And Steve, if you can put those both separately
Yeah,
in there.
they're the Born to Write is there.
Oh
and
yeah, but
Writing Your
there's
Way
maybe
Home.
underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, if you scroll down, you'll see both.
Yeah, you can put them again. Yeah. I mean, I think that, writing is like it's like anything. There's 2 reasons, like singing or anything else, where there's a reason to keep doing it for you, like to hone your craft. Like I think that everyone who wants to write should be doing some kind of generative writing, at all the time. There's no point where like, okay, I'm done. I'm a writer now. I don't write anymore. I was looking at turning books into 1 sentences and 3 sentences, which is a nerdy thing I do in my free time. And I was looking at Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. And basically that book comes down to, it's her premise, because I like to make sure I can give an example, is to become a better writer, you have to write more. There's no other way. That's like the whole book. So I strongly encourage you all to do some generative writing, whether we do it together or you do it in some other community. And I recommend you do it with people if you can find a way. It's really helpful, I think, to have somebody just sitting there parallel play. And I do think, this is maybe the tick not hot on my shoulder, but us being together creates something different. So I recommend that. And then I think it's helpful to have somebody home. Like everybody needs it. An editor is like is like something else, in your best friend / therapist / builder / somebody who's sitting there and being like, I think the best thing that an editor has ever done for me is just take my words seriously and been like, is this what you most mean to say? Is this what matters most to you? And I think everyone deserves to have their words taken seriously until they come out what they most want to say.
Excellent. A couple of distinctions. The Writing Your Way Home, those are 75-minute long sessions. And the Born to Write, the Plotting Your Bestseller, those are 90-minute sessions. And there will be an extra hour session where there'll be like just for interaction with Q&A or sharing stuff. Rachel will direct it, but that'll be extra, kind of one-on-one access to our wonderful teacher, Rachel.
All right, we have 1 last minute. Is there any last questions? If not, if not, I'd love us to, if everyone, we haven't gotten to hear from us, if everyone could just share a word that they're feeling at the end of this session. Say 1 word. We'll just do 1 word since we're, writer people here. So I can start, which is grateful.
Still let you.
There's no stealing, we're sharing. Excited.
Seen.
Hopeful. Seen.
Open.
I didn't hear the last one.
Open.
And I like that. These are wonderful.
Inspired.
Inspired. Wonderful.
Growing.
Yay, growing. We are.
Excited.
Excited. Love
I'm
that.
excited, and Diana wrote gratitude, and we have grateful, excited, hopeful. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well,
And
thank you all.
One other thing, if you decide to sign up tonight, we did drop a discount code in there. If you use Rachel 25, you'll save 25.
And share it.
25.
You can, it's not just for you all. Share it and it'll be for.
If you have any friends, exactly. If you have any friends that might be interested, they can, taking action. We'd appreciate it. And I just have to say that, I mean, I've worked with Rachel off and on for a number of years in different capacity. And I'm taking, personally, I have the writer in me that I'm just really excited to be part of all this. And I'm really excited that you folks everyone showed up and welcome everyone. And Rachel, that was great. Any final words to Rachel or from Rachel?
Such my joy and pleasure to see you all and to hear your words. And hopefully I get to hear more.
All right, thank you.
Bye all. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.